Hey, what's up, everybody? How are you today on this Tuesday? If you joined me yesterday, you'll notice that I'm in the middle of playing a game called Monster Sanctuary. And I finally did it. I finally figured out how... Let me get to this battle real quick. I finally figured out how to enter the magma chamber. And all I had to do was capture this dude right here. Had to go to the ice place, which is that blue region up here. And I had to capture this monster here. His name is the Arum Tail. And he has the ability that you can jump on him and ride around. And so I was able to finally make my way to the magma chamber. That's what I was trying to show you yesterday. So yeah, you can kind of hear in the background right now, you can hear some of the music that me and Peter Jones wrote for this section of the game. And then even yesterday, live, we were exporting the track for the Goblin Trader room. So I haven't found it yet, but it's a secret room somewhere in this area of the map. I'm guessing somewhere a little bit further down. I think in this room down here, there's a PvP battle that I have to beat, but that guy's really hard. Or maybe it's somewhere down one of these little exits, but I'm not able to find that room yet, but that is where that new track will go. And so today we're going to be taking a look at the Underworld, which is going to be another expansion to this game. Not sure where it's going to go. I'm not sure where else on this map there's space other than maybe down here. They're going to create an Underworld in the next update. And so that's the track we're going to be working at today. So let me exit out of here. And that way we can jump into the session. So here we are over in Cubase. That's what I've been using for this entire soundtrack. If you joined us yesterday, then you know about how we went through that process of just writing music with a shared template among two composers, because I am working with composer Peter Jones on this, and we're tossing ideas back and forth. And so if you were here yesterday, we wrote the kind of a sketch of the Mystic Workshop. Here's a tiny little preview of that if you missed it. And it's definitely a work in progress, and that needs a lot of work. But I did send it to the dev team, and they really liked it. And so that's something that we're going to continue to go back and forth on. My favorite section that we came up with, even though it's still a huge mess, sounds like this. So it's a cool idea. It definitely needs a lot of cleanup, mainly in the bass area and some of the melodies. But that's why I hire help to help out with that kind of stuff, so that I'm not stuck in the weeds doing that all day. So I can be writing new tracks. And so the second track we're going to be looking at here as part of Monster Sanctuary Week is the Underworld. So with any situation where you're working with a game developer, you got to ask for demo tracks, or not demo tracks, but reference tracks, because that allows you to get an idea of what's inside their head and what they expect for kind of the sound of an area. And so the developers sent me a couple of reference tracks. I want to pop over to my left screen. Let's take a listen. So there are actually 3 different references that they gave me. And I'm going to take the sum, or I should say the average of the sum of the parts, and try to create something that kind of imitates the blend of those styles and make something unique out of it, kind of like we did yesterday. So the first is from Dead Cells. This is The Crypt. Here's what it sounds like. I'm gonna hop around quite a bit in these to get to the meat. So it's super ambient. You notice it kind of has like a, obviously very minor, and has a lot of like vocal elements in it, a lot of tribal drums. So I can already tell that's probably the least like my tracks, least like the soundtrack that I've made so far. So I'll take some of the elements from it, but not a lot. The next example is Castlevania Symphony of the Night. This is Dracula's Castle. So there's obviously a lot of metal and rock elements here. We have the kick and the snare, and we have kind of that synth lead that sounds like a horn or a trumpet. Very melodic, very pop-centric, and we even used a Castlevania reference yesterday for the Mystic, what was it called? The Mystic Workshop. Gosh, I gotta get my titles right. The Mystic Workshop. But yeah, so there's a Castlevania reference for that as well, and we used that to help create that C section of the track, which is basically a harmonic minor, classical style. I think I get the vibe of that. The only challenge with Castlevania music is it's very 80s inspired, and I don't want this soundtrack to sound dated, but I'll take some of the elements from it. And the last, oh man, one of my favorite games ever, Chrono Trigger, and this is the Undersea Palace. Now that is definitely my favorite of these three references, and that's the one I'll be using the most. And kind of a fourth reference visually that's worth showing here. They also mentioned they really are inspired by the Elephant Graveyard from the Lion King video game for the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. If any of you played that as kids, I certainly did, and that was an absolute terrifying experience because that's a creepy, creepy level. They also sent a picture of, I believe, from Dark Souls or from Demon Souls. So it's like that kind of that cryptic style. So I have to take these references and I want to combine the elements together, kind of find the average of what's going on, and still put it through the filter of my sound set that I created for this soundtrack. All custom sounds, all in this 16-bit style. And I want to more or less take some of the harmonic and rhythmic language from those examples. So what I hear is it's in minor, it's super ambient. There's some rhythmic elements going on where so there's kind of a arpeggiation in the background. So I'll probably use something like pizzicato strings or even some of my synths to kind of get that ebb and flow to help create that tension. And then just like in pretty much all of my tracks in the soundtrack, there's a lot of glissando. And I think that's really going to help a lot to give some vibe. And so I think I'm going to use some choir pad for that. And maybe if it feels right, I'll add some kick and snare to kind of give the Castlevania vibe. But all in all, I think we're safe to stay in a minor key, to use a harmonic minor, and to try to add some of that ambient flavor. So the last element, I need to listen. I'm going to go back one more time and listen to the tempos of these reference tracks, because I think that's really important. So let's pull out my handy dandy, nope, not a notebook, but every single one of you should have this on your phone. It's called Metro Timer. It's a free app for Android and Mac, or for whatever it's called, iPhone. It's a free little timer. Not my words today. Metronome. Gosh. It has a tap tempo. So what I can do is very quickly listen to any of these tracks and then tap it out. All right, first one's about 150 BPM. The second one was 138. So we're pretty fast tempos in all these. And then the last one. Okay, cool. So 144 on that last one. So you can probably guess where my BPM should be. And if you guys watched my video last Wednesday about rejections and revisions and how to avoid them, here is the #1 way. It's to use the reference tracks and find the average of the parameters. And so it does not make any sense for me to write a track that is in 6/8 time that's at 70 beats per minute. That makes no sense because that has nothing to do with the reference tracks. It doesn't matter how good that piece of music is, they're going to not feel like the reference tracks, and that's going to completely lead to a rejection or a lot of revisions. And that'll be the developer's first note. Because remember, they're not really, when they describe what they want for an environment, they're not using musical terms. They're just using what they know. They're using references from games that they love. So let's pull from that. So what I found, I had a 138 BPM, 144, and a 148. So let's actually stick right at the 144. So let me go to my session real quick. And in my tempo bar, I always like to leave 1 bar free before I write the track. I already made a new tempo right here. I'm gonna do 144. Now the final, I did say final before, but the real final thing I have to also pay attention to is the meter or the time signature. So I noticed that the Chrono Trigger one was in 3/4, or you can even call 6/4, depending on how you're counting that. Castlevania was in 4/4, I believe. Yeah, that's in 4/4, and then the Dead Cells is in a very slow 4. So it's going to be 4 or 3. So the good news is it doesn't matter. I can actually choose what feels right in this situation, and it's not going to clash. And if you joined me yesterday, you'll also notice that I had to make a decision when I was writing the Mystic Workshop track that the reference tracks were in 3. I mean, they were in 4, and my original demo was in 3, and so that actually messed me up. And that was something I had to go back and fix and kind of start fresh, which was annoying, but that's what you got to do sometimes. If you don't listen to your reference tracks, you're going to put yourself in a bad position. And I already noticed right from the bat, if you can see this up here, notice I accidentally put my tempo, I didn't let it start on the first beat, so let's fix that. I like that in Cubase you can type in the exact parameter, so I'm going to put measure 507, first beat, first like sub beat, and then 0. In that way, the tempo starts right there. If I have my click on, which I have on in my ears, you can't hear it, that's okay. So it's 4 even clicks, click, 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 start. I like it. I think for now, let's stick with a 4/4 because it's just always easier to write music in 4/4, and you can always truncate if you want to write it in 3/4 later. 3/4 always has a sense of a waltz or a dance or abnormal or fun, but none of those words really describe what we want here. We want kind of dread, we want ambience, we want tension, and a 3/4 just doesn't give that. Maybe a 6/4, as we heard from the Chrono Trigger, but in this situation, let's just stick with 4/4. But I do want to first start with some of that synth material, just to see what we can feel out. So I don't want to be heavy-handed, diminished chords like I was yesterday. That felt right then, but what do I think of? Let me hear the tempo. I definitely want to do some kind of arpeggio that's not diatonic. So what that means is I want to use notes that are not strictly in the key. So I want it to be kind of haunting. So the reason that feedback is happening is because it's a delay. So that's just a stereo delay default plugin within Cubase here. It's a 16th note delay, 50%, 30%, 50% feedback, 13% mix. So it's not very strong. But as I hold my pedal, 1 dun 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 dun. Dang it, I just talked myself into a 3/4 time after all of that. Go figure. Perhaps 3/4 in this situation does call it causes the uneasiness that we do actually need. So there we go. I change my mind all the time. Get over it. That's just part of the gig, right? So signature, let's do 3/4. That's why I always keep a free bar. If I change stuff like that, it doesn't affect everything. Well, let's go back to the piano. I really like that. It almost gives me some Golden Sun vibes, if any of you've played those games for the Game Boy Advance. I'm thinking of like the temples or the towers, just kind of this ambience. And it's gonna sound really cool once I get the choir pad in. And that really will kind of channel the Chrono Trigger vibe. And I love how it kind of, it hits on top of itself. And hey, what's up? I know we got Euler in the chat, but welcome, Peter. Welcome to the fun. For those who don't know, Peter is my co-composer on this soundtrack. Woohoo! So I'd love of course, I want everyone's feedback, but Peter, especially value your feedback as I do this. Oh, that's so fast. That's going to work really well. So I'm trying to create. So here I want to kind of change it up a B. 1, 2, 3. Cool. And then this part. Yeah, here's where I want to introduce a melody. So I'm trying to write this literally around the delay so that it has space. So here, let's just go ahead and label it. I'll call this a B section. So it just came out of this. Throw in that unexpected flat 6. I'm going to keep C minor, by the way. So let's get it in. 2, 3. Oh, that's so fast, but it's good. So let's take like a Moonlight Sonata type vibe here. Make my chords so that's a C, E flat, A flat, G. So I want to get an augmented chord in here. What is that? Come on, chords. It's actually an A diminished. Just starting on a C, first inversion. 3. Da 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 da. 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1. Something like that. I'll play with it. Don't want to get too ahead of myself, but that's the idea. And yes, Colin, I did pick a key. It's in C minor, officially. I wanted to get some kind of motif out there, ostinato, whatever. This is less of an ostinato. This is more of a motif. I'm heavily inspired by Beethoven. Always have been. Ludwig von Beethoven. Just love his writing. And as a pianist, as a classical pianist, it makes sense. I've played many Beethoven sonatas, and those are ingrained in my writing ability. And hey, welcome, David. Glad you can make it to stream. So let's clean this up a little bit. I don't think anything's too off, but I do want to take all that piano information and let's glue it together. This little merge tool. And then I can take everything and slide it, because there is a slight delay on my MIDI keyboard. Everything's just a 16th note. Yeah, let's just do 16th notes. Now everything should fit nicely with my delay. Here's what it sounds like. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So I want something in the background. This is a very quiet xylophone synth that I made. But we found, Peter and I found, that with the magma chamber, as you just heard at the beginning of the stream, as I played it in the game, I used that as like a percussive, like a shaker almost in the background, but it's a pitched shaker. So it's really nice to kind of add motion without really taking up all the space. Oops, wrong track. I like that a lot, because especially the lower octave. I mean, I can barely hear it, but I'm trying to play. You notice it has a delay on it too. I'm just trying to play the same chord, which is E flat, C, A flat, G, which is also if there are any classical pianists in the audience, that's a Brahms lick. Yay, Brahms. But I'm totally gonna use it. He invented it, but I'm gonna steal it. Wahaha. But really, I'm not, because I'm using C, E flat, blah, E flat, C, A flat, G, and then whatever you call this thing, I guess a +2 or augmented something, D, C, A flat, G. I think that'll work well in the background. So let's put it in. I don't want it for the whole thing. I just want it for like the second half. Here we go. Just kind of chill in the background. Just for half of it. I might later add, duplicate it. But for now, I think that works really well. Let's chop it up properly. There we go. I think that'll work. That's a must right there. I'm gonna just stick with a C minor to a C2. And that octave, that's a good one. Okay, let's make those all quarter notes to where it locks in. Just keeping them exact here. I think that works. Yep, it's gonna soar nicely on top. That's my synth bell. Cool. And I already have delay baked into that patch. And I can show it to you real quick. This is just a contact patch I made. You can even see how the delay is actually baked in. If I play any of these patches, there is nothing on that channel. There's no effects, but that contact patch I already have delay baked in. Pretty cool. Makes it really easy to write without having to do a lot of mixing or anything. Let's get those in, quantized. Looks good, sounds good. I'm gonna turn down that synth bell a tiny bit in my mix, 1 dB. I want to get some kind of bass information here. I like that low C. Space is everything in tracks. I like that. I messed up this guy. Cool. So let's take the bass. Those are all just quarter notes. Boom, boom. Sometimes simplicity is everything. I want to kind of screw with your mind with the beat. Haha, you're getting some prog rock vibes. Love it. I mean, I'm inspired by that too. That is the Final Fantasy sound after all. Not that this is Final Fantasy, but... I like that. Very spooky. I want to keep the 3 feel going. Cool. That'll work. Chuck E. Cheese, Chuck E. Cheese, like that. So, just 8th notes. I like to always chop up my MIDI regions afterwards, after recording, just to keep them clean like that. This would be a good spot for some whirly. Like that. Okay, those are all 8th notes. going. This is a track I want to leave more space than not. I don't want to infiltrate this with a ton of layers. This soundtrack has a lot of noise, especially the battle tracks and stuff that is very in your face. So this is a nice opportunity to give some much needed breath, especially in a spooky place like this. Let me give you a visual again. I think visuals are pretty important. So let's just listen to what we have so far and let me know if you feel like it fits the visual. Cool. Let's keep going. I don't think it's completely filled out yet, but I think we're getting there. I think it has the right style. I wonder what else I can put here that'll help this intro. Yeah, I like that dark. That's perfect. Yep. It's simple, but it works, doesn't it? Man, simple just works. I'm gonna hold those C's till Kingdom Come. Here we go. Yeah, perfect. That pedal tone just does everything. Cool. Isn't that amazing? Something so simple. So let's make sure that thing is being treated nicely. I don't even know where my track is. I guess it's that. Okay, cool. I was using some pedal for some of that, which is fine. No, it's not, because it's going to screw me up. That was more or less just for experimentation. Let me take the sustain pedal off so I can actually visually see where my notes are working. But yeah, I think that C that does everything. I like this to be a double phrase anyway. No. I like that. Let's keep it super duper simple here. Let's just do all quarter notes. Quantizing. Changing the chord there. And then continuing this. Yes. Got all of those arpeggios. I think that'll sound nice. And hey, Chance, what's up? And thanks, Peter. Boom. Yeah, I'm probably not gonna keep those whacks at the end. I'm just getting rid of those. They sound stupid. Yeah. And I know I haven't even cleaned these up at all, but bum 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 bum. What is that? Da, da, da. Those are all 16ths. Yeah. That's a maybe section. And while I'm at it, since I know my tempo, let's figure out where this is going to end so we know how to frame our time. So you'll notice right here it says 14:59 is when the track starts. So I need to end at 16:59. It's a 2-minute track. So let's drag it. 16:59 is right there. That's right at the beginning of 6:08. So I'm going to put 2-minute loop as a marker. And then drag this guy to fit. That way I can turn my looper on. And then whenever I hit 1, this is a shortcut I have on my keyboard. Right here on this number pad, I can hit the number 1 and it'll teleport me back to the beginning of that. If I hit 3 at any point, it will record. Those are Pro Tools shortcuts that I have put into Cubase because I like to have all of my DAWs do the exact same thing. That way I never get confused. Which is why I had that whole discussion yesterday about X mouse button control, which is a really cool free software if you want to screw up your Cubase commands and make them function the same as other DAWs. Pretty cool because Pro Tools is unshakable. You cannot import key commands. Every other DAW you can though, so I like to just copy Pro Tools and that way I'm good to go. I also really like that this the delay of the what is that, 8th notes? It's a 16th note delay, and yet we're in a 3/4 time. So it actually tricks your brain that we're in a different time signature than we actually are, which is really cool. Because if you listen to it without a click, you feel like you're in 4/4 for a few seconds. But then it just kind of comes out of nowhere. And then you know what's going on by then. Cool start. Go through my melodic instruments. I think I like the flute the best, like playing in a low range. Not great, but oh well. This is still sketching. I'm not really trying to get it perfect. Just want to get all the ideas down. And I feel like this needs to be an octave higher anyway. Gotta answer a phone call real quick, but let's listen to the track so far, and I'll be right back. All right, cool. So yeah, I think we're off to a great start here. I feel like this melody would do well if we double the piano part. It's like that needs to be duplicated up an octave, like this. I think that sounds cool. How about you? It's kind of a mess with the timing, but you get the idea. Other thing I want to add, probably from the beginning, I want to add some low piano octaves. I feel like that adds some earthiness, especially with the low strings. There we go, like a bell. Very menacing. Cool, I like that a lot. So let's take that. Yeah, I think that's a really cool way to get this started. Okay, cool. Peter is suggesting bass drum there. Where do you suggest? You're talking about a kick drum? I feel like a kick would come in nicely with this. Like a kit in general would come in well as soon as the motion comes in. Cool, you're saying when the flute comes in, this thing. It's like a slow beat. Boom, da, boom, da, boom, boom, ba, boom, like that. We're talking faster. Anytime we add percussion, it like steals away from the ambience. So I gotta be careful. Chances on team slow beat. It's a very secretive mana type of beat. That in, get it across the right instruments. Oh, cool. I got the PETA approval. It's a big deal, guys. He knows what he's doing. He's the real composer here. I'm just a wannabe. He knows his stuff. He knows his beats. Ha ha ha. All right, here we go. You guys are funny in the chat. Okay, cool. So what I like to do is take this and copy it down to my absinthe kick. I'm a huge fan of the kick in this kit. I like to mix these together like this. Not mix, but mix and match. Answer the question from David. This soundtrack may or may not be on Spotify, but it will certainly be a bundle on Steam, because this is actually the first time in my life that I've agreed to a buyout contract, because this game, Monster Sanctuary, has a really, really big publisher that they only do buyout contracts. And so it was a very good paycheck. So there's no reason for me to say no to it, because I made way more doing that than any kind of soundtrack sales. So this is a situation where I still own the rights to the music, but I can't put them on soundtracks and that kind of stuff. So this is a situation that it was a good trade-off. So I don't control when or where you get to hear the music. That's one of the reasons I'm really encouraged to do these streams as well, so that you can kind of get behind the scenes where I can, because I do have permission to do these with the team. See if we can get some more hi-hat goodness. I like it. We just got to turn this hi-hat up. The one with all the delay. Peter's talking to me in drums now. What am I going to do with my life? Start the track with tick, tick, but I can actually read this. Tick, 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 in the hi-hat. So you're talking like that. Talking about Peter. Oh, cool. Okay. I like that a lot, actually. That's a brilliant idea. Good job, guys. I like that because it's all 16ths. That's cool. It's unique and it's different. It makes that track feel really cool. So I'm going to use those throughout. It's a way better idea because it makes the slow beat not feel so slow. It keeps the energy moving, which makes me actually want to keep the xylophone thingy continuing so we don't kill all that energy. It's a good idea. Makes you want to turn it down though. But I like that. I feel like that works way better because it's softer now and so it doesn't overpower. But that would be a cool idea to try and kind of sneak that in some of these earlier sections. Oh yeah, man, that gives me like GoldenEye 007 vibes. Not that that's the goal here, but that kind of background motion, like that. Chance says he wants us to go full Celeste. I mean, this soundtrack is pretty inspired by Celeste, actually. Has a lot of the same styles. Because it's like pseudo 16-bit. They're not Super Nintendo samples or anything, but I'm making my own, so it kind of blurs the line of modern production with retro sounds. So I can see why you say that. Cool. I think that's a pretty good stopping point for today. I'm gonna go full on today, but I think it's a good starting point. That belt adds so much. There we go. It's amazing how much energy just that little hi-hat gives for this entire track. that way better. I'll keep the little plucky plucks just for an idea, but that's really cool. Let me something I like to do with tracks I'm unsure about, I just color them a weird color. That way if you unmute them, you can see that they're not finished ideas. They're kind of half-baked ideas. Oh, so close. Almost a good idea, right? C minor, C minor, flat, and we do that. Do it in on a G7. Oops. Peter Jones taught me better than that. My mama taught me better than that. He taught me to never end on a minor chord. If you're going to do a scoopity scoop, always end on a 2 chord. That way you can bend into any key space, any mode. Well done, Peter Jones. Well done. Much love. I like that a lot. So that's all 16ths and triplets. Bum 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 triplet bum 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 bum. So it's a little hard to quantize. I have to do it in chunks like this, but at least it's all the same pattern. It'll take a second, but it's worth it. And I intentionally chose a different modality for the second repetition of it, and that's where all the more instruments will come in. But that way it's kind of a long form idea. It's not just a 8-bar idea, but more like a 16-bar idea. Anytime you can repeat something and get it ingrained in the memory, but then change it ever so slightly in the second version, that's when you're going to get a lot of mileage out of your idea instead of having to always create new ideas. That's no good. So as you can see, no! Oh, it's going to take forever. That's the idea. But you know what? I'm gonna stop there just for my own sanity. I can quantize that later. Peter, please quantize that. I just don't want to. Is that fair? Can I do that to you? I like that. Adding the bell. Fine. I think all of these need to be the A flat. Da, da, da. So for all of the non-A flats, these ones, I'm just going to put them back down. G sharp, whatever we're calling this thing. Cubase likes to assume everything's a sharp, but it's not. It's a common tone. that just adds so much life to everything. But cool. Let me finish out this section and we'll be out of here. I think that's a cool ending. Where's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, let's end with that. Honestly, that could be the end section because you can do that twice. And that'd just be a nice way to pedal on C. And if we duplicate it, copy that twice, that should get us all the way to the end. Right to there. If my calculations are accurate, we'll get ourselves right there. And that should... Apparently I can't count very well. Is that not a 3/4? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3. Apparently I can't count, but Peter, I'm gonna leave you alone to do that, to make that fit somehow. But you get the idea. It's probably a time signature change, or I'm just losing my mind and not being careful enough. But that's the idea. I think that will make a really cool loop point. Back to the beginning. I think that's just worth calling A. That's cool. Here's the B section. Yeah, let me fix this awful. That was just not even in time or anything. One, two, three, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. I gotta count. That's totally 6/4 or 3/4, right? 1, 2, 3. No, it's not. That's like a 5/4 or something. Guys, I'm losing my mind. I don't understand. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't understand. Is it in 4/4? I think it is 5/4. That's all the trickiness here. 1, 2, 3. There it is. There it is. Get rid of this other one, and that should fix everything. Those are eighth notes, I believe. And then, and yes, my coagulations. Correct. Then this should work. Cool, and then we'll just call it right there. We'll call that the loop. We can change the tempo if we need to fit, but that will be the loop point. Sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That'll work anyway because it's like an amorphous meter anyway. Like you don't really notice that it's in 4/4 or 3/4, whatever the heck it is. So here's the end. Cool, that's gonna work really well. So cool, let's play out the final version 1 so far of the Underworld for Monster Sanctuary. It's all the time we got today. Peter, it's on to you now. So hopefully you'll do some live streams. Everybody in the chat should give him a high five. Tell him to do a live stream where he works on this. That'd be really fun. But anyway, nice hanging out, guys. I'll see you next time. Enjoy what we got so far.